some time ago, and we found out that they needed to do vaccination. Of course, vaccination had to involve everybody. So that community, we got all of them and they were vaccinated. So that is another reason or point where we can use population. The last one is when all members of the population have, when all the population cooperates with the researcher. Now we have also carried out another study in 5 states, Benue, Edo, Kogi, Nasarawa, and FCT, Abuja. Now we found out that there are some NGOs working in those situations. We wanted to evaluate the impact of what they were doing, what the NGOs were doing. Catholic Relief Services gave them money, gave the NGO money to carry out some activities in those locations. So employed us to evaluate what they have done. So in that case, it is easier for us to go to a particular community and say we want to see all the members. They joyfully came out because the NGOs are working in those communities, and anytime they come, the NGO always give them something. So probably they are thinking also that we want to give them something. So they all came. So we're able to use our population for that study.
I think he had a network issue because I don't seem to have him here anymore. Let's just exercise a bit of patience while he tries to reconnect. Thank you for understanding. Please, let's be a little bit more patient. We are trying to reach out to him to know what the problem is.
Ebolua. Ebon.
Hello.
Welcome back, sir. Welcome back, sir. We can hear you now.
Thank you. I'm so sorry.
Yes.
Can I continue?
Yes, please. Please go ahead, sir.
Okay. Thank you. So we were talking about population, and I mentioned that there are 4 reasons why we can use population in our studies. I won't go over that again. So let me just move on. Something is wrong. Please, can you see my slide?
Yes, sir, we can.
I can see
okay,
your slide.
Okay. Thank you. It's just that I can't see it myself. Okay.
Oh,
yeah, so now I can
guess
see now.
Network.
Yes. Okay. So those are the 4 reasons why we can use population. Now the next is sample. Now, if any of those 4 assumptions cannot hold, then we must resort to the use of samples, and that the sample actually must represent the population. So before we can say that we are going to use sample to represent our population, it must be satisfied, or we must satisfy that the sample represents the population in all respects. So that if you pick an element out and we say this is a sample and we compare it to the population, they must have the same characteristics. The sample must have the same characteristics like the population, okay? So a sample is a group of people, objects, or items that are taken from a large population for our research work. So in case anybody is interested in wanting to know what a population, a sample is, that this definition may be sufficient, or if it's not sufficient, we can come up with a better one. Now, the first question that comes to a researcher's mind is, how large should my samples be? If I take 10, am I comfortable? If I take 15, am I good to go? If I take 50, is it fine? Now, if this question is not answered, it will be difficult for a researcher to make a decision on the sample selection. Because if you don't know where you are going, you're likely not going to know when you get there. So that is the reason why, first of all, ab initio, we know how many samples you are going to select, and that will now give you the opportunity to do what is needful. Now, sample size determination is very important. So usually we have 2 methods. We have the Cohen, Mannion, and Morrison method, or the Taro-Yameni samples determination. So these 2 methods will be used in this presentation today. And I hope we have our, what do you call it, Excel, because we are going to be calculating the sample size, we are going to be determining sample size this evening. Instead of going through a long method, we'll just use something that's very small way of calculating sample, and will be good to do that. So let's take the first one, the Cohen, Mannion, and Morrison sample size method. They started from margin of error. So margin of error is actually defined by the Z score multiplied by the population standard deviation divided by the square root of sample size. Now, the square root of sample size is what we're actually looking for. So we are now going to do some, remember when we are from 4. So those of us who went to from 1 to 5, either from 3 or from 4, there's a topic in mathematics called change of subject or subject of formula. So we're going to do that this evening, but it's not a big mathematics, so don't be afraid. So the first thing we do is we multiply both sides of the equation by square root of n. So if you multiply the two sides of our equation, you remember our equation is ME equals Z multiplied by mean of the, standard deviation of the population and square root of mean, square root of n. If you multiply this side by square root of n and multiply this side also by square root of n, we're going to have what we have here, square root of n multiplied by me is equals to Z multiplied by standard deviation. Now divide both sides by ME. Okay, this gives square root of n is equal to Z standard deviation all over ME. Now we want to remove this square root. So what we do is to square both sides of the equation, and we now get n is equal to Z standard deviation or a sigma, small sigma, all over margin of error squared. So this is the formula that we're going to be using in calculating sample size this evening. Okay, so let's look at how to do it. Sometimes it's difficult to get sigma, which is the standard deviation of the mean, of the population. So what we do usually is that we make an assumption. Let me give you this example. We're trying to get standard sample size for monitoring of learning achievement in Nigeria. So what we did was first of all to know a particular subject, maybe numeracy. So we take numeracy and we look at the standard deviation of numeracy for previous exercises we had done. So the latest exercise we did, so we picked the standard deviation. So that becomes the standard deviation we're now using for this particular year. So please don't forget that the standard deviation for this Cohen method, you have to depend on standard deviation of previous exercise. Most investigators perform a small pilot. Sometimes, if you find it difficult to use the previous one, you can quickly do a pilot study such that you'll be able to determine the standard deviation for the pilot study. So you now use it. So in planning studies, investigators should also consider attrition or loss to follow up. So when we are doing our margin of error, we put all of this into consideration. Now, let's now look at this example. Let us assume that our margin of error is 0.031, and our Z at 0.05 level of significance. We can actually get the table. You can check the table of this one, statistical table, Z score at 0.005 is usually 1.96. So when your coefficient of your level of confidence is 0.05, this is the Z that's going to give you. Now, from either pilot study we carried out or previous study that's related to what we are doing now, let's assume is 2.289. Then our N, which is this equation, is giving us this, and we're having this, and this is the sample size approximate that we can use. Now, let's now go to practical aspects. We'll be looking at Excel now to do one example. So let me share the screen on Excel. Okay, so I have my Excel. Can you see my Excel? I need a feedback.
Yes, we can see it.
Thank you so much. Yeah. So let's look at, we have margin of error, we have Z-score, we have standard deviation. You can put in your own value for these three. Don't forget I said that this is more or less like constant, this 1.96, because except you are changing your margin of error, sorry, you are changing your level of confidence. If you are changing it to 0.01, then 0.001, then you may have something different from here. Now, I want somebody to give me different values now. I will erase these ones. Okay, let's use this one to see what we are going to get. There's something here says, I said, click here for answer. So when you click, this is your sample size. Have you seen this, everyone? So you can approximate this one to 5, 4, either 8, 9, or let's say 9, 0. You can say 5, 4, 9, 0, because it is easier. Sorry. 5, 9, sorry, 5, 4, 9, 0. So it is easier. You can't have fraction of human beings. So that's why we can approximate this way. And of course, it's also easier to round off to something like this instead of 5, 4, 8, 9. So that is that. Now I want somebody to now give us some values of ME. Anybody? What's the margin of error that we're going to looking at? Are you looking at margin of error of 0.01? If you're looking at margin of error of 0.01, it means that you have a high confidence in your work, so that your error is just 1%. Here, our error is 5%. So I want somebody to give me statistics. Anyone?
So since we are dealing with education, why don't we go with a number closer to that 0.05s?
It's okay.
Maybe 0.04, something like that.
Okay, that's fine.
0.01.
So we can have 0.04. Then this one is constant. Now, what is the standard deviation that we are going to be looking at? It can be higher, it can be, this one has no restriction. It is the standard deviation you obtained either in previous study or a pilot study you have just done. Okay. Suggestion? I want a suggestion. Hello?
Hello, sir. This 1.89, is it not the pilot, the previous study that we have done?
Yes, previous study, but just for practice, can you give me any score?
Okay, 1.92.
1.92.
Yes, sir.
Okay, 1.92. It can be higher than that, actually. So you click here for your answer. You see that the answer has changed. This is 8851. And what we had before was 5490.
Yeah.
Are we following?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that is, it's a simple, what do you call it? It's a simple exercise, something I did, I created yesterday for purpose of this meeting. And I shared it with every one of us. So if we have all these parameter, just fix the parameter, click here, you will get your answer. Can we move on?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
thank you.
We can move on.
Okay, so let's come back to the slides. Okay, so the next thing, now this is the practical activity. Let's do this together. Assume you are to select a sample size for a study with the following parameter. Okay, we have done this all together. Yeah, this is exactly what we have done in the Excel. So we can use Excel calculator. Okay, so we've done that. Now the second one is the thorough many method. And this was created by Cohen, Marison, and their colleague. and want to see this one, actually, sorry, we have considered this Cohen one. This was done by Yaro Yamening. Now, I didn't have to reinvent the wheels, because if you check the net, you will actually see Yaro Yamen method of calculating sample size. The calculator is there online. It's because I didn't find that of Cohen. That's why I quickly did something like I did. It was formulated by statistician Taro Yamen in 1967 to determine the sample size from a given population. So this is the mathematical illustration. N, small n, is equal to big N divided by 1 plus big N margin of error squared. So that is the formula for the Yaro method, and it's very easy to memorize. So let's now look at the parameter themselves. I said n, the small n, this is small n here, is actually the sample size we are interested in. We want to know the sample size. The big N is the population, and E is the margin of error. This one is less complicated because now we are not looking for standard deviation at this point in time of any study that had been done before. We will not, because of I want to determine sample size, first of all, do a pilot study to determine the standard deviation. But this one is straightforward. The only disadvantage of this is because of age. Let me crack a joke. A statistician, we're doing a job, work on how to the effectiveness of SMART-SAY in the educational system. SMART-SAY is science and mathematics education, strengthening mathematics and science education. Okay, so, and I told the lady, the statistician, to determine the sample size. And I said she was going to use Taro Yamen's method. I said, you are not even born when this formula was formulated. Why don't you use something that is recent? Okay, so that's one disadvantage of Taro, is because of the age. It's been long, but it's been proved to be very effective. Okay, so that is the formula. Then let's look at the practical activity on that. I want you to, okay, let's take this example together. Then I'll give us one example, one practical work we need to do in 5 seconds. And anybody that get the answer in 5 seconds, of course, I have a gift for that person. Now I said, assume we have a population of 1,000. I want to find an appropriate number of samples for our study. What should be the sample size if the margin of error is 0.05? Okay, so what we need is just the population, because usually our margin of error is usually 5%. So we have the population is 1,000. So N is equals to, so we have the formula, then we say 1,000 divided by 1 plus 1,000 multiplied by 0.05 squared. Okay, so using the principle of BODMAS, so anything that had to do with brackets, we first of all do that. So 0.05 multiplied by 0.05 gives us 0.0025. Then in BODMAS again, we have multiplication comes before addition. So if you multiply 1,000 by this, that will give you 2.25. Excuse me. And 2.25 plus 1 gives us 3.25. So 1,000 divided by 3.25 we give something like 3.0 as our answer. So to take the question down, what is the sample size to be selected from a population of 800 who has not finished? Your time starts now, and in 5 seconds, give me your answer. It's more than 5 seconds now. So nobody has the answer yet. Talk to me. Hello?
There were noise backgrounds from several ends. So I'll just
I
allow
have
everyone.
246. I have
What did you say?
246.
Oh, sorry. You missed my prize because the 5 seconds has gone. But this, but at least you have tried. Thank you so much. Any other person with different answer?
I just gave everyone permission to unmute. So if you have the answer already, please unmute yourself and speak.
60, 267,
60,
267,
167.
267,
267. Okay. Any other person?
Yes. Yes.
Sorry?
Yes.
Okay, can we move on? Now the idea is that I actually want us, all of us, to participate so that when you are looking for sample size, you actually know what to do. This determination of sample size is a big thing when you are working with international development partners. They are insistent on using either of the formula to make sure that you determine your sample size before you go. You can't just close your eyes and say, I'm carrying out my study in the southwest Nigeria or the north central Nigeria, and I'll need to just I will use 500 people. How did you determine the 500 people? Is very critical and important in educational research. So, Admi, can you mute everyone except me so that the noise will be reduced? Now, let's look at differences between the two methods. Sorry, it's methods, not.
Please, sir, you have to unmute yourself again. Sorry, sir.
That's fine. Now, the difference is that so there are some differences between the two methods. One, the assumption in Taro method is that the population must be known. Okay, so in Taro Yamen's formula, you must ab initio know the population, but that is not necessary in Cohen-Mason and the methods. It's not necessary. Number two difference, the Z-score corresponding to the confidence level is required in Cohen's method, but it's not needed in Taro Yamen's method. Standard deviation of similar study is required in Cohen, but that's not necessary in Taro. So those are the differences there. And so if we know the differences, it'd be easier for us to know which one to use, especially when you have this kind of situation. Now, let me now ask us, when do we prefer to use Cohen method? Anyone? You can write your answer because of the noise background. At what point, or when do you advise somebody to use Cohen's method? Yes, I'm looking for the answers. I'm not seeing anybody on chat. When do we use Cohen's method? If you don't know the population, that's fine. Now, in most, this coming from Mensobelo. Thank you. Now, in most cases, we don't usually have definite population for some studies we carry out. For example, you want to carry out a study on effect of homegrown school feeding on performance of mathematics of students. Now, the first question you ask yourself is, what is the population of people who have participated in the homegrown school feeding? If you don't have that population, instead of wasting a lot of time looking for where to get your population from, then you can go ahead and use Cohen. Meanwhile, you must get the standard deviation of a similar study. That's the only condition for us to use Cohen method. Okay. Then Josephine said that when you have previous parameters of a similar study, yes, thank you. Yeah, thank you. So those are the reasons why we can use Cohen method. Of course, when do we use Taro method? Yes, answer. Okay, now let's move on, because it's clear that when we know the population, then we can use Taro. Now the next thing is the sampling. Now that we have determined our sample size, now we have said that population must be used, but we find that it may be impossible to use population. Now it's okay, use sample. Then the next question is how many? Now we have determined the sample we are going to use. Now, how do we now select this sample? So the method of selecting the sample is called sampling. Sampling. You can just call it sampling. Everybody knows that you are talking about the method of sampling, or if you like, you can say sampling techniques, whatever. They mean the same thing, actually. So sampling is a method of selecting the samples. Now, please, it is very important that we should know what we mean by sampling frame. As a teacher, many of my students don't know the meaning of sampling frame. What they use as sampling frame is the sample itself they want to use. So the list of the sample they want to use is what they refer to as sampling frame. But that is not correct. Sampling frame is the list of all elements in the population. The list of everybody in the population is called the sampling frame. The list of everybody in the population is called the sampling frame. That's very critical, important for us to take note of. Now, what is the features of sample? They must share the same characteristics with the population. I said that. Then you must be able to select them to be representative of the population. Now, please can we mute? Please can we mute? Let's mute Olujimi or Denny. Okay. Now, representativeness is taken care of by sampling determination. So if you actually calculate it, then you can beat your chest and say that my sample, though small, but it is representative because of the calculation you have made. But if you just close your eyes and shake your head and just pick any value, it may not be representative. So that is why we always advise that you go by the sample determination method, any of the methods. Now, there are two main subgroups of sampling. We have the probability and the non-probability. So the probability sampling is a scientific way of selecting samples from the population. In this method, a process or procedure that must be used in this method, the process or procedures that ensure that the different units in the population have equal probability of being chosen are embarked upon. That is one way of looking at it. Now we have basically four methods of probability sampling. We have the simple random sampling, we have stratified random sampling, we have systematic random sampling, we have the cluster or area sampling. So we take them one after the other. So let's look at this one, simple random sampling. This method has been in existence for quite a long time. As many of us that read Bible remember that when there was a problem when Jonah was running away from God, and he entered a ship going to Tarshish. There was storm, so much so that everybody was afraid. Jonah was sleeping. They went and woke him up and said, "Why are you sleeping when everybody is panicking?" And they decided to cast lot. So what are they looking for? They want to make selection. They want to select. So that is one method. I mean, it's a simple random method they used, and everybody must participate in it. So if there are 7 of them, they cut whatever it is method we use. Because when I was young in our primary school, if you want to find out somebody that farts in the classroom and she's polluting the classroom, we always do that kind of something. Between our fists, our fingers, we'll cut broomstick and fold the fist and ask each person to pick. Anybody that takes the longer one, you say, you are the one. Whether that method was good or bad, but sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. But that's one method of simple random sampling. So we can put bowls and use palm, and use anything in order to do our random sampling, simple random sampling. These methods are not outdated, though they are old, but they are not outdated because we still use them these days. In fact, we even have what we call by replacement and without replacement. Let me also give an example. When we are doing monitoring of learning achievement and wanted to select states that, local governments that must participate, because we are going to use all the states, quite all right. We want to know how many local governments be selected. So we started state by state. We spent almost 4 hours sampling. So with this state by state, we did by replacement. You pick, we say fishbowl we used. That is that all the 42 local governments in Kano were put in a bowl. We shook very well. Then somebody will draw. And as he's drawing, he's opening to read, he's putting it back. Now the question is, what if we pick it again? So we not record that, we fold it again and put and shake again. The reason is because of that probability of being selected. Everybody has equal chance. So when you pick from 42 is usually 1/42 and must be the same for everyone. So that is, so we still use simple random sampling. Assume we want to select a sample for the following study, assessment, or counseling services for undergraduates in a particular university at the end of a whole or complete session, let's say 10 months. So now, what do we do if we are to select? So you see what we do now. We use this following step. We get a sampling frame organized from counselor's record. Then we decide on the number of clients you would like to have in the final sample using the sample size determination. E.g., let's say we want to select 100 clients to survey and that there were 500 clients over the past 10 months. So we now have what we call sampling fraction. You needed 100 out of 500. So that becomes 20%. So you are using 20% from that. But the 100 we are selecting, how did we get it? We must have used our sampling determination or sample size determination. To actually draw the sample, there are several options. You could print off the list of 500 clients, tear off each name into separate sheets, scripts, put the strip in a cap or hat or bow and mix them up well, close your eyes and pull out the first 100. Unfortunately, this mechanical procedure could be tedious and the quality of sample will depend on how thorough we mix them up and how randomly we were able to achieve. So we could use random numbers using a table of random numbers. The random number is assigned to each element in the same frame. Now, what I'm trying to put out to us is that if you are going to select a very large number, it's be very difficult to start, using putting yes or no or whatever in a bowl and start picking. It's a very tedious and laborious work. So what we need to do actually is to use random number. Now, I said we need Excel, so that's what we are going to do again. So please get your Excel ready because we are going to practice that. So the assigned random number is arranged in either ascending or descending order. Then the first 100 number having the name of the client is chosen. Those clients who have the chosen random number become the sample. And a better procedure will be to generate random number using computer. So let's try and do that now. Let me see this chart. Can you give more explanation of sampling frame? What do you mean by list of elements in the population? Okay, now, as I said, sampling frame is actually the list of the population. If, for example, in Nigeria, let me say my department where I work, we are 24 lecturers in the department. So what we need to do is to list the name of everybody, all the 24 of us. That 24 of us in that department is our sampling frame. The element there is each of us, each person, Adewale, Anyawale, that, until we have 24. So each person is an element in the population. So the list of all the 24 of us is the population. So let's assume that we want to now select 10 out of the 24. So that is what the method I said we're now going to use using, what do you call it? Computer. So are we ready to go with Excel? I need an answer. Are you ready? Okay, I want everybody to, please, can you give me your names? My name is Sam Adewale. I know there is Ariyo. Who else?
I think we can as well use the chat one just now.
What did you say?
I
that was why there wasn't any response. But you can unmute yourself and speak. But when you're done, please mute yourself again, please.
My
Okay.
name is Mary.
Okay, Mary.
Yes, sir.
Yes, next.
Hagi
Sulaiman.
Hello.
Sulaiman. Let me type the one I have here. Don't worry. Aminu.
Aminu Hussaini.
Yes, Aminu.
Hussaini from
Then I
Sokoto,
have
Nigeria.
Sorry?
Agi is there.
Agi. Good. That is that. Agi. That is Benue State. Next.
Ekume.
It's fine.
That's Ekume.
Yes.
Ekume. Sorry if I do not get the correct spelling. Forgive me. Any other name?
Ekume.
Chinyere. I'll just say Chi. Chinyere. Next.
Abiola.
Abiola. Next. Sorry?
Popola.
Okay, Popo Ola. Next.
Akande.
Akande. Akande. Then I can see Olujimi. Olujimi. Then I can see Evaristo. Evaristo. I need actually 20 at least. And we are 26 now.
Josephine.
Sorry?
Josephine.
Josephine. And we have Infinix. Infinix. We have Fatima.
Yeah.
Fatima. Then we have who else do we have? We are going to 20. Do you have John? John. We have I-A-I-I-E-A. We need two more names. Nobody.
We have Abiola.
Abiola. Okay, and lastly.
Amo.
Amao. Good. Now let's assume we want to select just 7 out of these 20. So we need to get a random number ready. So I want to teach us how to do the random number. And sorry, I was just looking at the chart, but I mean, don't worry, Bade Teller, this presentation is already with the president, so to be shared with everyone. Okay. Now let's look at, you type, this is the name. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So let's
yes, please.
Thank you. Let's go back to this presentation first. Okay. So I want you to, because it's already there, type out the names of the clients into an Excel worksheet using a column, and that's what we have done. Then the next column, type the function is equals to rand open bracket and close bracket. This is exact way of putting a random number between 0 and 1, then drag down. So let's go back to our Excel. So here we are. is equals to rand. That rand is random. Open bracket and close bracket. Then you enter. Sorry. There should be space. There's no space between the rand and the bracket. Now, can you see the figure? Everyone?
Yes, we can see it.
Good. So what you now do, look at this, something like a square at the tip. Can you see the cross, the cursor, when it's becoming a thinner cross? Drag it down. Have we done our own? Because I want us to practice it so that we won't forget. Are we practicing? Okay. Abubakar Sulaiman, don't worry yourself. You are not going to get the same random number. If I do it again, if I do that random number again, I won't get the same thing. So because he said mine gives me different values with yours. Let me do it again. You see that I'm not going to get the same thing. Rand. Can you see that it's different from what I have before? So it's a random number. It's not a number that is static. So it's just generated randomly. Okay, are we good to go? So let me delete this one and let's retain this. Okay. So the next we are going to do is to highlight everything. Don't forget to say we are going to, you are using random sampling. So when you are doing it, like you want to select 7 out of this 20, you highlight everything. Then you now come to sort. Come to sort. It will tell you, ask you, is it ascending or descending? Just pick any one you like. But so let's take ascending, for example. Oh, sorry. What you're going to sort is the random number, not the names. So it's the random number you are going to select. Please, can you select the random number and sort? Are we together now? Although the sorting is not perfect, but you can see that the names have changed. Adewale was number 1, Ario was number 2. So, but now we want to select 7. So the first 7 is now the sample we are selecting using simple random sampling. So Ekume, Abiola, Sulaiman, Fatima, Agi, and Chinyere, these are the 7 that will represent our class anywhere we want to go. So the rest of us will be giving them moral support from wherever we are. I hope it's clear. So let's go back to our work. So that is how to do simple random sampling. Now there are some limitations of simple random. There are some limitations. It's somehow difficult to select a large number because every member of the population has equal chance of being selected. One assumption of simple random sampling is that everybody have equal chance to be selected. Now let's now consider this situation scenario where we have we want to select representative sample from Nigeria. Nigeria has 36 states plus FCT. These states lies along the 6 geopolitical zones. We have, if we are interested in to select 2,000 adolescents from population of 56 million using simple random sampling, there is a possibility of having all of them from Oyo State. It is possible that all of them, because it's simple random, all of them can come from Oyo State. So that is one limitation of simple random sampling. So if this happens, we cannot say that we have a sample that is representing Nigeria. We cannot use Oyo State to say that is what happened in Oyo State, in Nigeria. So a better way to use is to use the second method, the second random method, which is stratified random method, okay? So this is sometimes called proportional or quota random system. It involves dividing the population into homogeneous subgroups and then taking a simple random sampling in each subgroup. This is possible by dividing the population to either an existing subgroup or the researcher can deliberately create a subgroup. Existing subgroup includes states, boundaries, etc., where a researcher can group the base. Another one is that you can create, you can use age or gender. So that is the best method of selecting samples so that all those characteristics, all those dividing variables will be captured. For example, you can use what we call multi-stage. You first of all sample the geopolitical zone. You have 6 geopolitical zones. Okay, let's select 2, one from the north, one from south. Then in each geopolitical zone, you either have 5 or at most 7. So from there, you can now select number of states. Then from there, you can now select number of local governments. From there, you can now select number of wards. So in that case, you're taking care of every strata of the population. Why is stratified sampling better than simple random? Yeah, it assures that you'll be able to represent not only the overall population, but also key subgroups of the population, especially smaller minority groups. Stratified random sampling, we generally have more statistical precision than simple random sampling, especially for heterogeneous population like Nigeria, where we don't have homogeneous population, probably because of our languages, our culture, and the like. So the third one is systematic sampling. These are the steps to follow in order to achieve a systematic random sampling. Now, we were also doing, let me also use practical example. We were doing TMLA, and we had some colleagues from World Bank that came, and so we wanted to select 10 children out of a class, because we are going to use tablet, and in primary school, it is the data collector. It's the data collector that is going to make use of the tablet. So we felt that 10 children are adequate. So we bring out all the children, we number them, we divide them by 10. Okay? So whatever the answer is, that becomes our 10th unit. So if, for example, we have 10, if there are 30 students in a class, we divide by 10, that's 3. So which means that we're now going to first of all use simple random sampling to pick any number between 1 and 3. So if, for example, we pick 2, so 2 plus 5. So the student whose his number is number 2 will be picked. The student whose number is 7 will be picked. Number 12 will be picked. 17 will be picked until we get to 30. And at the end, you will see that it's only 10 students we are going to pick. So that is systematic sampling. And I have this example here. Let's assume that we have 200 in a population and we want to select 40. So we use 200, we say divide by 40, that gives us 5. So from 1 to 5, a random number is used to select one number. Let's assume 3 is picked. We start from number 3. We select every fifth case or every fifth unit so that our sample size will be 40. So you see what I have read. So number 3 was picked, number 8 picked, 13 picked, 18 picked, 23 picked, 28, 33, 38, 43, 48, 78, like that until you get to 198. So if you count that number, you will see that it won't be more than 40. If you doubt, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 multiplied by 5. Because this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 8 times 5 will give us 40. So that is how to use systematic method to select our sample. Don't forget that the sample size have been determined using either of our 2 methods. So we have cluster or area sampling. And again, another problem with simple random sampling is the probability of inclusiveness. Everybody can be included. And so some people will be included in terms of individual, but where they come from will not be represented. So in a situation where we have to sample a population that is diverse across wide geographical region, we may have to cover a lot of ground geographically in order to get each of them into the sample. Imagine taking a simple random sampling of the residents of 36 states and FCT Nigeria. It is possible that our draw may include samples from all the 36 plus FCT. This will imply that data collectors will have to travel to all the states, even if only few samples are in a particular state. It is possible that it's only when you use simple random sampling, there's a possibility that you can get all the 36. There's a possibility that you can get only one state. And it's a possibility that in a particular state, is only one person that is picked. So you have, because of that one person, you just have to travel to that particular state to see that one person that is chosen. So area sampling will be good. So in cluster sampling, we follow these steps. Divide the population into clusters, like we have states in Nigeria. Randomly sample clusters. Measure all units within a sample cluster. So if you select a particular cluster, let's say 3 states, you randomly select them, then you go to a particular state, you now take the elements you're interested in. So let's look at this example. For example, we may be interested in selecting states that have deep green color. And so they are strategically placed. We have Ogun, Zamfara, and Plateau. Okay, so we can now say these are clusters. So when you now get to Zamfara, you do everything you need to do in that place. You look at the local government, you look at the wards, look at the schools and the like. The same thing in Plateau, the same thing in Ogun State. So that is a cluster sampling. Okay, so let's quickly go to non-probability because it's because of our time. Now, for non-probability sampling, we have accidental, we have purposive, we have expert sampling, quota sampling, heterogeneity sampling, and snowballing. So let's just take them one after the other. The accidental sampling, I will explain this to us. I have used this before. We wanted to use university students to answer a research question, to answer a questionnaire. The issue is they are like nomadic students. They move from one classroom to another classroom to another classroom. So it's difficult for you to pinpoint, to pin them down. They are not regular students like a secondary school that will be, they are fixated in a class and they must attend all the class from 8 to 2. This one, some of them will have just only 1 hour class between 10 and 11, and that's all. So what we usually do is you just go to the school. Anybody you see, you use that accidental sampling. So when you use that, is a method of sampling, but it's not probability one. The second one is purposive sampling. In purposive sampling, you must tell us the criteria you are going to use. For example, you are looking at effect of using computer in achievement in numeracy. Hello?
Yes.
Okay. So you are looking at the effect of okay. Sorry, I'm just reading comments. Okay. I think I'll take care of that later. So if you are interested, you want the effect of use of computer in achievement in numeracy. The first criterion you are going to give is that every school you are going must have computer. So that is a purposive sampling. You must identify the criteria or criterion. If criterion is singular, criteria is plural. So when you identify those and you make use of them, then that becomes a purposive sampling. The next one is expert sampling. We use this often when we are looking at the key informant interview. You are looking for somebody that is key, somebody that can give information on what you are doing. He's an expert. He has all the information you are looking for. So you don't jettison that kind of a person. You go out to look for the person and get information from such. So it's an expert sampling. Then we have the quota sampling. It's just like the area sampling we talked about the other time. But this time around, we are looking at the probability, proportional. Proportional is very important in the quota sampling. For example, you are looking at men and women, and let's say we want to select just only 100. And in that population, you discover that you have 60% female, 40% male. So which means that you must select more women than men in that place. Then we have heterogeneity sampling. That is where people differ in all respects. Okay, so they are diverse, and you are interested in that diversity. You are interested in the diversity. So you must make sure that every element that is selected represents the diversity in all ramifications. So it is important that we take note of that. And lastly is a snowball. We also used this before. We wanted to find out dropouts. Wanted to know what caused students from dropping out from school. So we went to Mechanic Village and we saw young school age children. So we now asked the question after we have finished with administering our interview, our questionnaire to him. We now ask, do you know any other person that dropped out of school? He said, yes, even in this Mechanic Village, he mentioned Suraju and one other person. So we saw them. We asked those ones too. They said, in another Bodija market, he mentioned them. So we went to Bodija market and we saw all of them. So that is snowballing. You saw one, and that person introduced you to another person, who introduced you to another person, who introduced you to another person. So that is what we refer to as snowballing sampling. Now, let me conclude because of our time. For our research to be meaningful and our recommendation to be generalizable, the choice of samples is very crucial. Wrong sampling is likely to confound our findings. For example, let me cite this example. We had one, international development partner that worked with us. And they went to a particular country and they wanted to ascertain that the information they obtained on numeracy is correct. So they did their own secret finding. They wanted to find out whether what the local consultant did was okay. So they went behind them to do it. So when the African people saw the white men, they were they were shaky, like, we don't want them to rate our students low. So they told primary 4 children to move away from the class to go to primary 6, and primary 6 children to go to primary 4 because of the label primary 4. So the white people also felt that, oh, this is primary 4. They administered the test to them, and the result the local consultant got was 35.4%. When the white men did their own, they got 67.8%. And they were like, So when they say, that's a confounding finding. When they say, what has changed? So in order to, you see that the sample that was supposed to be used was not used. And so that can cause a confounding situation. So the question, what has changed, is, so they had to carry out investigation to know what really, because the difference is large. It's not for the 36.1, a whole lot of 67. So they had to do interview. Eventually they found out that there was a kind of swap or swapping between primary 4 and primary 6. So I think my last slide will say thank you. I'm done.
Thank you very much, Prof.
Thank you, Prof.
Prof, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Prof,
Thank you
I have
very
a-
much, sir. Thank you very much. Just before we wrap it up, we'd like to get some questions from the seminar. So please, if you have a question, just raise your electronic hand. I'm going to take 5 questions verbally, then I'm going to take 3 from the chat. So I'm just going to go by the people raising their hands, then I'll give you permission to speak. Please just raise your electronic hand, just that. I can see Aminu Uzana.
Hussaini.
Oh.
Hello.
Yeah, go on, Aminu.
Yes. Yeah, sir, thank you very much for the presentation. I was left behind when, after I generated the random number, I highlighted the names and the random numbers. So from there, I was lost, sir.
Okay. What we need to do is to now use the random number and sort either by ascending or descending.
Okay, sir.
Okay,
Thank you.
we want to select 7 out of 20. So when you sort, the first 7 names you see, that is your sample.
It's okay, sir. I'm Hussein now. Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right. The playback to the presentation is on our YouTube channel. So it was streamed live on YouTube. So you can as well check that out on IAIIA on YouTube. So you'd be able to have access to everything he just taught. And for people who are also asking for
the presentation slide and all. You have the material already on the internet. Thank you. So I'm going to take the next person, who is Mansour Usani. Please, how do I pronounce that correctly?
Are you referring to me?
Yes, please.
Okay, Mansour, not Mansour. Mansour, M-A-N-S-U-R.
Oh, thank you so much. Go ahead with your question. You raised your hand.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your wonderful presentation, Prof. I would like to ask this question, Prof, regarding the sampling techniques that you talk about. You have made mentions there are some this simple random sampling, which you say it has limitation. Instead, we should use maybe this stratified or cluster, as you mentioned earlier. What about maybe you have your population, the sample that you want to get, they are at the same place. You don't need to travel to go anywhere. Is it okay if you use random sampling so that if you want to generalize the sample, or you must use that stratified random sampling, like you have said earlier, in order to get what you want to get correctly? Thank you.
Yeah, if your sample are in the same position, that's fine. But don't forget that we are dealing with human beings, and we don't have the same age, we don't have the same sex. So you can as well stratify them according to sex. If, for example, all of them are the same age, then you don't have to stratify by age. But I'm sure not everybody would be boys or girls. So if they are mixture of male and female, you can first of all stratify along gender before you now use simple random to select from boys and from girls.
Okay, thank you very much, Rob.
Thank you for the response. I'd like to know if there are other questions, because I can't see any question in the chat. So I think I'll just continue with the questions with the people who want to ask verbally. But if you'd like to drop your message, please go ahead and drop. So let me go on with Mark.
Yeah.
Hello.
Good evening, Prof.
Please go ahead.
Good evening, Mark.
Yeah. All right. I'm from NAPTEB.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Director Mark.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Thank you very much, Prof.
Yeah. It's okay.
All right. I want to find out if you are carrying out a research, right? And it involves the entire students that took a certain exam, right? And in the process of collecting the data, and you have the capacity of using all of them, what kind of sampling do we call that type of sampling technique? Because you are going to use the entire students, and yes, you may not need to share them apparently based on the kind of the size of the data you need to be able to run the program you want to run. So what
okay,
type
thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Director Mark. I presume you came late. Did you come late? Yes, because we first of all we spent time on population. The population is the best method of collecting data. But when it is practically impossible to use population, then we start using sample. So the scenario you painted is more of population. And we said you can use different terminologies like, oh, you are doing a whole census or you are doing enumeration. So when you use all the sample, all the elements in the population, it's in fact that's the best. So that is not a sample, but enumeration. We call it total enumeration, or you call it census, or you call it population. So you are not sampling at that level.
Well, thank you, Prof. Thank you, Prof.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. I can see the questions in the chat asking for the address to the YouTube. I'm going to drop that, although I dropped a link already, but I'm going to drop the name so that we have it clearer. I can see Aminu
Yes, ma.
and please go ahead.
Okay, ma.
So this will be number 4, although you have earlier.
Okay, so I want to ask question again about this sampling techniques, ma. Hello.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yes, please go ahead.
Sir, if okay, Professor, if I want to conduct an item analysis on let's say batch 2018 or 2019, let's say based mathematics subject in public junior secondary school, for instance. So the schools or the population are school category, there is public and the private. If I wish to pick the public secondary school, among the public, let's say there is Al-Majri or this Al-Majri schools and non-Al-Majri schools. So here, sir, I don't know. I don't want to use gender. I just want to use Al-Majri and non-Al-Majri, regardless of their gender, and they are living in the same location, let's say metropolitan area of, let's say, Sokoto State, for instance, Sokoto metropolitan area. Yes, sir. Here, I don't know which sampling technique will be appropriate for me to use here, sir.
Yeah, you notice that you are not using homogeneous sample. You have Al-Majri and you have non-Al-Majri. Now, the Al-Majri...
Gender, I say non-Al-Majri, 2 categories only. They are both public junior secondary schools.
Okay, so it's stratified. You are going to use. You stratify them into those two strata, Al-Majri, non-Al-Majri.
Okay, they are living in the same metropolitan area.
Yeah, it does not really matter, because if you use simple random sampling, it is possible that you have pure Al-Majri sample, or you have pure non-Al-Majri sample, because everyone have equal opportunity to be selected.
Okay.
So in order to bring the two of them into your sample, you have to first of all take care of them from the beginning by stratifying them, classifying them into Al-Majri. You use simple random sampling there. Non-Al-Majri, you use simple random sampling. Then you now combine them together.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, Prof.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. So who is taking the last slot? I can't see any other hands raised. Okay. All right, I'll go with Josephine because she has not asked before.
Thank you very much, Prof. I'm Josephine from Uganda. I wanted you to throw some more light on the quota sampling, one of the examples of non-probability sampling. I missed explanation. Thank you.
Okay. Let me quickly flag it. Okay, quota sampling. So I want us to go line by line. In quota sampling, you select people non-randomly according to some fixed quota. There are 2 types of quota sampling, proportional and non-proportional. In proportional quota sampling, you want to represent the major characteristics of the population by sampling a proportional amount of each. And we give example. And something can be by region or by or not. So in this method, you specify the minimum number of sample units you want in each category. You are not concerned with having numbers that match the proportions of the population. But let me quickly explain, because this my notes is not comprehensive enough. Let me use Nigeria example. In admission, for example, in the University of Ibadan, there are 3 categories. We have by merit, then we have quota, then we have less educationally disadvantaged states. Now, quota means that University of Ibadan has some states that is close by. So we expect more students from those states than states that are far away from there. So, and in most cases, when a student comes and say, I'm from Osun State, for example, so the quota for Osun State is already complete because we always give certain number to each state, and that becomes their own quota. And so when that quota is filled, nobody is taking again. So in a situation where we have quota sampling, is just like you have your different strata, like we have in stratified random sampling. You have your different strata, and you have indicated what each of the strata, what they will need. Each stratum is okay. Osun State, you have this number. Oyo State, you have this number. Ogun State, you have this number. Lagos, this number. Ekiti, this number, and so on and so forth. So that becomes the quota for them. And so this quota can now be either proportional or non-proportional. It's just a method of saying that, oh, we are interested in these different strata that we have, and we have apportioned to them their number. And so that becomes the quota sampling. I don't know, Josephine, whether you get the illustration.
Yes, Prof, it's more clear now. Okay. As we related it to more of the strata sampling, it's a bit clear now. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much, sir, for your time. I'm sorry every other person raising the hand. I exhausted my slot already. Prof, we are very grateful for your time and for your willingness to share from your wealth of experience. We do not take it for granted, and we are very grateful for everything you've done here tonight. Thank you so much, sir. And I believe everybody else is saying thanks. We are grateful.
Thank you.
To everyone else that missed out on a point or the other, please, I already dropped the link to the YouTube channel on the chat, so you can as well just make use of the link, or you can, I sent the name of the YouTube channel itself. You can also go through that route. So just make sure you fall back on the playback available and practice as many times as you can. And I believe that would all be gurus. I believe that's what Prof wants to make out of us, because I see how very interactive you made the class to be, and we are grateful. Thank you once again, everyone, for joining in tonight, and I hope to see you in the next edition in 2 weeks. Before we go, I'd like the last person that asked the question to please say a word of prayers. That's Josephine.
Okay, thank you very much, our host. Heavenly Father, we thank you very much for bringing us together today. We thank you for the wealth of knowledge that we have shared from Prof. We thank you very much that we shall have a difference in what has gone on, and we shall be able to impart as research methods in all our lines of education and academic. We continue to pray that we come together and share the wealth of knowledge. When we don't do this, there's no improvement in our online. Ask all this in His mighty name.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Prof. Thank you, Prof. Josephine. Thank you, everyone. Until I come your way again, my name is Peace.
Thank you very much.
Peace be unto you.
Unto you as well.
Amen.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Good night. Bye. Good night.
Good night, Prof. Well done. Well done.
Where does that? Where does that? Thank you. Yes.
Let's see how we invite more people. We are still very few in the
People will join.
Many of us have been coming. The
Um,
next one also will be very interesting. We'll be talking on collaboration.
They will join. It's just like most people are lazy. And again, you can't be wrong and be strong. Most of them, they are lazy, coward. So they will soon join. We are encouraging them.
Okay.
We will get more.
Then let's find out whether the timing is not suitable. But I
No,
think we have done sample before.
The timing, we have started this one for almost 2 years. What are you talking about timing? It's still, the time is okay now.
Okay.
And the time is still okay. If to say we are just starting, we can't be changing timing now.
Okay.
Like those I sent, okay, I sent number to you to you today, President. I sent one number. I shared the link. Yeah, those people that they're supposed to be to hook all the time. I don't know. They still need more time. No, they don't worry.
It's because they don't understand. Look at the explanation. Somebody may have been reading this thing from books, but if you are not here tonight to see how practical the thing can be, you'll just be making mistakes.
My department, we have combined mathematics and statistics. Okay. So the other parts now, they are claiming something. Most of the time, we tell them, no, we know all these things. So, and this aspect, in fact, if they are online, in fact, some of them will enjoy it.
Well, let's not be discouraged. Let's not be discouraged. No. Let's keep on encouraging them to join.
Of course.
So that we can change our world. This will be our own contribution.
Yes, ma'am. So we'll continue to try.
Okay.
Well done, sir.
Suleiman Abubakar, doctor. It's a long time. Oh, thank God 2022 is a wonderful year. Oh. You are back with us in IIA. Suleiman Abubakar Muhammad.
Okay. Where is he domicile?
I think he's from Kogi State. He's still here. I want you to talk. Dr. Suleiman.
Do you see how people from Nasarawa State?
I think Suleiman is from Nasarawa State. I think he's from Nasarawa.
Maybe yes. Okay, you are still seeing him online.
Yes, it's number 3.
Okay.
I don't know why he's not talking. Maybe he's not even paying attention.
No, it's even possible some of their something don't go as expected. Some don't know how to operate all these things.
Okay.
That's one of the challenges.
Okay.
That's one of the challenges. Then with time, I know they will get used to it. It's even better. Sometimes it's better than traveling far away to get this thing. They are getting this thing cheap. They are not. They should just know that they should not miss these opportunities like this.
Yes.
This one to confront is.
Maybe what we should do is to also share with Vice Chancellor, Provost, and rectors, so they encourage their staff. Maybe they will see the need to be joining.
Yeah, it's true.
That can be another way out. But they VC, they are also very busy. Provost, they are always attending one meeting or the other.
You know,
So I have to read that issue.
But for you to even be able to pick help, the professor to have time, he tried to. He tried. So we'll meet later.
Okay. Yeah, well done.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. I think it's a good time to say good night to everyone.
Yes.
Mary Ikuchuku Izimago, she has been very regular, especially in our conferences.
Okay.
Ekume, I'm seeing you for the first time. Let us hear from you. Ekume, you are from which part of the world? Ekume, can you unmute yourself? Let's hear from you.
Maybe it's not even. Is this clear?
Okay, I'm from Rivers State.
Oh.
Okay, you are from Rivers. Okay, thank you very much. Yes, I've also unmuted Abubakar Muhammad. Okay, maybe you can also let us hear from you. Yeah, been a long time since 2019. I've not been seeing you. Okay, Ekume, are you a doctor or a professor, mister?
No, I just concluded my master's there in Ibadan. So
don't worry, you shall get there.
Yes, I could not appear in that conference due to distance and the security situation. So that was why I had to travel down
Don't worry. Now we have the another way of doing it.
Yes, that is why when I saw it, I was very happy to join. So I thank God for the opportunity.
Okay, the conference was virtual.
Yeah,
we didn't even come physically together. So maybe you didn't know that it was virtual.
No, I knew, but we had challenges here. So the place was not stable. Insecurity, chasing people off and so I was not steady to participate on the virtual conference. So that was why.
No problem. God will give us safety and peace.
Now everywhere is calm, so I can now follow up in all the activities of the organization.
Next week we wish to see you.
What you do is that spread the news to your colleagues over there in Rivers State.
Yes, I will paste it now in our WhatsApp groups so that they will also know what is actually happening and how to go about it. So I'll communicate to them.
For example, there is somebody in Uganda who have been spreading news of IAEA. That's why you see that by now the time in Uganda should be around 12 midnight. And yes, they were there throughout the program. So they have somebody there motivating them, and the people are really sacrificing.
No, I will do that. I will do that. I will do that.
They are 2 hours ahead of us.
Yeah, they are 2 hours ahead of us.
All right, I appreciate. Maybe when there's.
Thank you very much. We also have Aminu Husseini. Please, you can unmute yourself. Let's know which part of the globe you are from. Aminu.
Sorry, I have a comment for Prof. If there is any publication as regards to this presentation, I would like to also have access to it, please. Hello?
Okay. Okay, what we say, we are going to drop the for all of us that were in the meeting tonight, we are going to send you a PowerPoint. But the recording, for the recording, only reserved for members of the association. So if you want to enjoy the recording, you have to register as a member financially.
Okay.
You understand?
Yes.
And if you are a member, you have to renew your membership every year. The 10,000 naira only. So if are you in our platform?
Yes.
Are you in our
Yes.
WhatsApp platform?
Yes.
So you will have seen the membership. We posted the application for membership application. So
Yes.
fill that form and send it to the association email address that is on the form.
Okay. I will
So
do that.
once you have you are a member for that year, you will have access to all the recording of our presentation during that year.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for
Okay.
But everybody.
Hello, sir. Hello, sir.
Yes.
Hello, sir.
Yes,
Aminu.
Aminu.
Yes, sir.
welcome.
I'm living in Sokoto, not some part of Nigeria.
Okay.
Yes.
That
The
is
time
very
is
good.
okay for me. Yes, the time is okay for me, sir.
What are you doing? Are you a lecturer or are you?
Yes, sir.
What is your title?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I am currently undergoing my master's degree in textile measurement.
From Usman Dan Fodio University?
No, at Bayero University, Kano.
That is good. That is lovely.
You have to be regular there.
I'm regular. I'm regular, sir. If you can follow, if you can see, almost each and every 2 weeks, I will follow you on the meeting.
Okay.
And sir, I don't know. But this one will be private because we want to.
Okay. Do you know Professor Yakasai in Bayero University?
He's my supervisor, sir.
Okay, so just tell him that one Ario say.
Pardon, sir.
You should greet him. One Dr. Ario.
Ario, okay, sir. I will, sir. And sir, I don't know. We need to have your personal contact because we want to have a consultant that we can be contacting as a consultant from our college, because we really need somebody who will be guiding or who will be teaching us online in the college, because in our site we have less people that can help in this aspect, especially the IRT Pro and whatever the analysis aspect of the research, sir.
Okay. Can you take down my number, my phone contact?
Sir. Yes, sir. I can take it. I am with my pen now.
0.
Yes, sir. 0.
342 92924. 342 92924.
Okay. 3429294.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
I've seen your own on the.
Yes, on the.
I've seen your own on the chat.
Yes,
I will
sir.
try and add you to the group platform.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir.
Please, Professor Yakasai for me. Is my friend. We used to meet somewhere.
Okay, sir.
Some work somewhere.
Okay.
We have
What is the meaning of Yakasai?
Yakasai is Muhammad Ibrahim Yakasai, Professor Muhammad Ibrahim Yakasai.
What is the meaning of Yakasai?
Yakasai is an area in Kano, sir.
No, it has meaning. It's an area in Kano. What is the meaning?
So that one is between you and him. It is between you and him. I will not enter that
one. So where did he go that he will soon come back?
Pardon, sir?
Find out the meaning.
Okay, I will, sir. I will, sir. I will, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah. Good night.
Okay, good night, sir.
My president.
Well done, my brother. Professor Adewale took time. He didn't have time, but thank God the little was able to do for us.
You are able to get him. You have tried to.
In fact, I would not like you to miss the next presentation. It will be taken by one Professor Daunsi. He's an international scholar. He's from Bowen University, Iwo. Yes, Bowen University. So the man is very, very good, very, very good. So I would not like you to miss his presentation 2 weeks time.
It don't help us.
Thank you for your support. Thank you for your prayer. I think it's good time to call it is it a day or call it a night?
No, just put it a day. Let me continue what I'm doing now. Yeah, well done.
God bless you. Good night. Good night, everybody. Good night.